Bleacher Report detailed what a successful 2020 season would look like for every team, and this is what they said about the Browns. A one-and-done playoff appearance, despite more struggles by Mayfield, would be a letdown considering how high the ceiling is for both quarterback and team, and another non-playoff campaign, despite strong play by Mayfield, would be even more troubling considering the talent on the roster. This, after all, is a team that features 6 former Pro Bowlers on offense alone. So it seems as though they're saying this team needs to make the playoffs, and Baker Mayfield needs to play well. Let's get into it here with Adam Schefter and D. Wood. And look at my crew is ready to go here. David Pollack is with me as well. Schefter, what sense are you getting from Cleveland about their expectations there? They make the huge change, the coaching change there, but they don't get really any offseason to speak of, at least to this point. It's all been so unusual. What sense of optimism are you hearing out of Cleveland?
What's amazing, Greeny, is if we go back 1 year ago, everybody was talking all about the Cleveland Browns the way they're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. The expectations were so high, and the Browns disappointed, as they usually have done since they returned to Cleveland. In this particular case, they have faded off the radar, and I don't think very many people are talking about them. They're talking about the MVP in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, Ben Roethlisberger coming back, Joe Burrow going to Cincinnati. It seems as if all the attention that went to Cleveland last year is going to every other team in the division except Cleveland, which is the way I think the Browns prefer it. Because, again, this is a good team. It's a team that underachieved last year. And they made the changes they did to bring in Kevin Stefanski as the head coach and Andrew Berry as the general manager. And let's not forget that the talent was in place to have a good season. And I think this Browns team should be better than people think.
Well, yes, I do too. And if not, then there's really a problem. Because if you just look at the names on the backs of the jerseys, and I just, while you were talking, jotted down Garrett, OBJ, Landry, Njoku, Hunt, Chubb, and there are obviously many more. David, it comes back to the quarterback. You obviously covered Baker Mayfield, who had a spectacular season, both literally and figuratively, when he won the Heisman. What were your expectations of him as a pro, and what do you think he is right now?
Well, what he is right now, if you look at last year, it was a big step backwards. You know, every statistical category you look at, more interceptions, the touchdowns were less. Like the quarterback rating dropped significantly. So last year was a big step in the wrong direction. Now, listen, we also got to take into account all the head coaches, all the change, all the turmoil, that has to come into it. But Baker Mayfield has all the prerequisite tools around him to be successful. You just named all the names on the back of the jerseys. He has all the pieces in place. Here's where I'll disagree a little bit with the playoff conversation. We can talk about all the pieces in place. Lamar Jackson has more. Lamar Jackson's squad is better. Are you going to be surprised if Pittsburgh has better coaching than the Browns? And is a better outfit than the Browns? No. So I think this is a huge year for Baker Mayfield to see if he's the future of the team. But I don't think it includes has to go to the playoffs, because the Ravens and the Steelers have proven the last umpteen years how much of a better organization they are than the Browns. That doesn't change in 1 year.
What do you think, D. Wood? That's an interesting way of looking at it. You'll be with me all season long. We'll be talking about this team every single week. What will they have to do for you to say, yeah, this was a good year for Cleveland?
Well, listen, I know that everyone was on the Cleveland hype train last year because of, they got OBJ and all those type of things. But I always say the name on the back of the jersey doesn't change the culture. The culture is like turning the Titanic. You're talking about a team that only just as recently as 2017 was winless. And they've gone through 3 head coaches in 3 years. It's hard to win when there's constant change. Yes, they're very talented, but they're trying to overcome that type of culture change, and also within a division where you have Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, 2 of the best head coaches that we have in our league. So that's what the Cleveland Browns are up against. I don't believe that they have to make the playoffs in order to be moving in the right direction as an organization, but I do think it's imperative for Baker Mayfield to flip those interceptions around, because he was atrocious throwing 21 interceptions last year. If he does that, if he replicates anything like that this year, then we're going to be talking about him in the same sentence as Mitchell Trubisky and not exercising his 5th-year option.
That's exactly where I was going to go, Shefty. That's where he will find himself next year. After 3 seasons as a rookie in the first round, that's when the Browns will have to decide really if they're going to make a longer-term commitment to him in the way that Chicago has decided not to do with Trubisky. So it feels, in that way at least, like it is something of a make-or-break year for Baker Mayfield.
And we're talking about the quarterback money going up again. And we're talking about it rising with Mahomes and Deshaun Watson and potentially Dak Prescott. And so if Baker Mayfield plays well, he's going to make huge money. And if he doesn't, then it's going to be a huge setback for this organization. But the one thing about Baker Mayfield is, having seen him at the Super Bowl in January, February, he did seem like last season humbled him. He did seem like he had matured, and it did seem like he's ready to have a big year this year.
I agree. We had him on the set there that day, Schefter. You were there with us, and the conversation with Rex and everything else. And he seems like a guy who realizes it is time to put up and shut up. Where people have heard everything he's had to say, now it's time to go out there and win some games. I'm on record as saying I predict they're going to do it. The Browns are going to make the playoffs. We'll take a break.